Hello everybody, it's Shaderock, and welcome to Volume 6 of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Now, Volume 6 is where things are going to mark a very dramatic change from the games. Up till now, they've been pretty much one-to-one with just some more dialogue and some characters participating more in the story than they did in the games. This is the start of a completely original plot line, with events that do not have any correlation to the game, but had more to Link as a character, the Master Sword, and as you can see on the cover, we're going to be talking about a very old photo for Zelda. And, yeah, this volume gets crazy. So without further ado, let's get started. So this volume picks up right where the last one ended, with the story about the demon thief Ganondorf and how he sought to claim the power of the sacred realm. And after his plan was foiled, he was to be executed by the sages, but they learned about the cruel joke of the gods. That while the hero Link and then Princess Zelda have the two pieces of the Triforce, Ganondorf has the third. And Link is actually very confused about how he has the same mark as him and Zelda. And it's pointed out to him that the Triforce does not care about good or evil, it is just pure power. It is all up to whoever has the piece to how it's used. And they continue to explain how Zant destroyed the mirror, much like in the game, and that the only one who could destroy the Mirror of Twilight permanently is the ruler of the Realm of Twilight. So with this knowledge, we have Midna and Link set out with their new goal of recovering the fragments of the Mirror of Twilight to put it back together. But as they leave, Link has a moment where he feels uneasy. That the moment he heard the name Ganondorf, he wanted to draw his blade. And we start seeing some darker thoughts kind of form within Link when it came to Ganondorf and about how this is his duty as a hero, which is a very different mentality compared to the Link we saw at the start of this story. From there, though, after hearing the story and knowing about the three places they need to go, Midna and Link hurry off to Snow Peak, where we start actually in Snow Peak as Wolf Link, and it's there Midna and Link discuss about the fact that they can use the Shadow Crystal for Link to be able to switch between the two forms freely. So he has to be turned back to a human and almost immediately freezes because it is cold on Snow Peak Mountain. And after turning him back into a wolf, Link concludes that the only people who could live on this mountain are Yetis, before being captured by Yeto. Because I mentioned this when we were streaming the game, Yeto will actually comment on Wolf Link if you walk up to him before. I believe if you walk up to him as Wolf Link, he talks about cooking up wolf, because wolf meat is good for the soup. And as a reminder, the soup is for his wife, Yetta, who he loves very dearly. And Link is just left there looking at this, thinking that they're very nice together. He kind of feels like a little bit of a third wheel, and decides to explore Snow Peak ruins to find the mirror. After Yetta admits to knowing it's in her room, but she doesn't know where the key is. She doesn't remember. We also get kind of this heartbreaking scene with Yeto crying over the soup, blaming himself, because he's the one who gave her the mirror, and the mirror is what made her sick. As this is going on, though, as Link is exploring Snow Peak, he is attacked by a strange figure clad in armor, who he actually has a nice brief clash with, before she takes off her helmet and reveals herself to be Ashi. Ashi? I've never figured out how to say her name. But, they talk for a bit. We get another brief snippet with Yeto saying the soup is done, and as he's giving it to Yetta. Link and Ashi and Ashi are talking about the evil within Hyrule, and the fact that Link knows more than he's letting on, and he simply says that he does not want to endanger regular people, and she feels very like she's being talked down to. And here's where, again, the manga adds stuff to these characters. Her story is not really explored too heavily in Twilight Princess, the video game. But here it is revealed Snow Peak Ruins used to be her family's home. She hasn't lived there for years, though, and she knows about Yeto and Yetta living there, but they're harmless, so she leaves them be. We also learn that she's a member of the Knights of Hyrule. Now, we could kind of infer about her being, like, her family have a connection to Snow Peak Ruins, as if I remember correctly, there's a portrait of a character who looks like her scattered around. So you could maybe say this was a childhood portrait. But there's also a bunch of portraits of everything, a bunch of other stuff related to the royal family, including when I think of the Arbiter's Crown, which is a weird choice. But as they're talking, Yetta comes back up to Link saying she remembers where the key is and leads him to the bedroom. And, well, this scene goes down just like it does in the game. The only difference is as she walks in, and Yetta just starts freaking out even more that they've come to steal the mirror. With her head flipping over, revealing the monstrous visage, she transforms into Blazetta. Not even bothering with the first form, she just jumps right to the second form. And to also go a step further, she also brings forward the two armored soldiers. In the game, we only fought one. Here, two of them appear, armed with their classic ball and chain. And just like in the game, Link defeats them, and both of them take the ball and chain. And if you thought one ball and chain made this fight a cakewalk, two of them, this fight goes on for like 3 pages, I like to say. It's mostly just due to artwork of them swinging the ball. Actually, after they get the ball and chain, I'm wrong, I double checked. It's a single page of the two of them just swinging them and taking her out in one shot. But, so, you know, much like all the other bosses in this manga, they kind of just breeze through it. And the shard falls with Minda. Link's about to catch it, but Minda grabs it before telling Link off that he shouldn't try to grab it. The sages told him the only one who can destroy the Mirror of Twilight is the ruler of the Realm of Twilight. So they know a simple fall won't destroy it, and they just saw what it did to Yetta. Link should not touch it. But as this happens, and she's telling him off, Yeto comes in, running past and knocking Link over, much like in the game, to grab Yetta, and gives the same heartwarming line about the fact that she's upset the lovely mirror is gone, the gift from him, and he tells her it's alright to look into his big eyes instead. And it's the same wholesome scene as it was in the game. And honestly just goes, even in the manga, when like we don't even get like a lot of the stuff, like we don't get to see all the scenes, the interactions of Yeto and Yetta are still just so heartwarming, and part of why I love Snow Peak Ruins. But sadly, things can't stay happy for long, as Minda tells Link that she thinks they should split up for a while, that these shards are more dangerous than the fused shadows. And she brings up the fact Link has been acting different. Like, he hasn't been listening to her as much. And he tells her flat, I'm not who I was before. The gods chose me, I accepted the call. This is very different from the Link we just spent all this time with. He's more cocky. And he tells her with the sword in his hand, that's precisely what he's going to do, that he's going to be the one to stop Ganondorf. And again, compare this to the Link we saw at the start of all this. And, well, we see a very, very different character. Link, we have just very different, as I've been stressing, a very different character compared to the, I wouldn't say timid, but he was definitely lacking in self-confidence because he was blaming himself for a lot of stuff. But now with the Master Sword, he's going on how he couldn't lose to any opponent, that he's found his reason for being. And he's basically ranting about the fact, like, he's drunk on power. He's drunk on the strength of this sword. And Midna, hearing this all, finally snaps, going off on him that he's overconfident, he's prideful, point out the fact that he's not perfect, that he's in a lot of danger, and everything has changed about him. And he's just puffed up with his own importance. It's very different from the Link she's gone to know over the course of the journey. And she tells him again, she's leaving on her own, and leaves him to think about what's really important and what a fool he's being. And as she disappears, we see a glimpse of eyes that aren't Midna's. They were the last things Link saw before she disappeared. And Link's only thought is that a hero was going alone, which is very different from the mentality he's had up till now. From here, he's actually attacked by a Skullfoes that reveals that Xant's going to be attacking Castletown, which Link immediately gets rid of before anyone else notices that it was even there. And he grabs Aisha and they ride to Castletown, talking about the Shadow King, and she has no idea what he's talking about. And he tells her that he'll explain later. There's a lot of details to go into. He's giving her the Cliff Notes versions, but as they ride, no one knows what's going on in Castle. They know about the horde of monsters, and we get like at least a little bit of Ilya making the horse charm for Link, and well, we see some more. Shad has feelings for me, but inferior to Link. But as they ride, we have a couple old faces reappear. This is not something that happens in the game. We don't really rematch some of these bosses, like Diababa, which was the boss of the Forest Temple. Not just Diababa, the Skull Lord from the end of the Arbiter's Grounds. And Link just slices through all of them, declaring them weak and slow. And that he's killing all these things in one swing, cutting them all down, reveling in the bloodlust, and declaring himself as the greatest hero ever. For an old foe steps up to challenge him again with King Bublin. And before they even fight, he tells them, like, you were right, prattling on about protecting the weak, and how he should have known that strength is a treasure all its own. This is the moment for us, the readers, to realize Link is not there right now. This is not Link. And the fight only goes on for like a page between the two. He cuts off his other horn, and he goes for the killing blow. But before Link can strike, he is stopped by himself. As ahead in front of him is Dark Link. Now, Dark Link does not appear in the game at all. The closest we ever get to Dark Link in Twilight Princess is the Spirit of Lanayru talk about the fused shadows, and that it shows a set of links turn into Dark Link. But that's done for symbolic effect. It's not done in a literal sense. But here he's talking about the sword is awesome, makes you invincible. All the while we see a blood-coated Master Sword. And we have this perfect mirror image between the two as they proceed to fight. As their blades clash, they are a perfect match, imitating each other blow for blow. It actually is very reminiscent of, to kind of bring it full circle, because I'm kind of old on my channel with Mecha, is reminiscent of the fight of Eva Unit 1 versus Eva Unit 13 in the last Evangelion movie. Where, as they are mirror images of each other, one and the same, they cannot strike each other down. But that is not exactly the case here. As they clash, eventually, Link gets the advantage, stabs Dark Link, before, as he revels in the fact that he just beat Dark Link, he's realized he stabbed himself. And Link is very confused, screaming that he's the hero. How could he just stabbed himself? And as this is going on, as Link is having this existential crisis, Zant appears, haunting him. He's in a world of black insanity. And Link goes to attack Zant, but as he tries to swing the Master Sword, it just clatters to the ground. And Link realizes it's heavy. It's so much heavier than anything he can lift. Unable to figure out why, he keeps trying to use it, but he can only drag the blade across the ground. And Zan takes the time to just wail on Link, who can only think to himself as, "You exist to banish evil. Why won't you respond? The sword has abandoned Link." The Master Sword has deemed Link unworthy to use it, and has rejected him. Zant's just left there, just saying that without that sword, you are just another pathetic human. But before Zant can strike the killing blow, the darkness itself seems to shatter, as out and bursts through the Golden Wolf, the same one we've seen since the beginning of the journey. Confronts Zant, just letting him know that he did nothing. He did not create the Dark Double. The Dark Double that we saw was a creation of Link's own psyche, and that Zant just watched him stomp around in the darkness, biting his own tail. The wolf does not attack Zant. It does not challenge him beyond that, instead taking the sword and grabbing Link and running off. And that is actually how Volume 6 ends. Volume 6 is a lot shorter in terms of all the chapters, being only, well, 2 chapters in this volume. Like I'm saying, Volume 6 being so short is only 2 chapters, as compared to the others are usually like 3 or 4 chapters in a volume. But this one covers so much, especially with the massive changes to the post-Snow Peak story. So reminder, from here in the game, we went to the Temple of Time. The whole thing with the attack on Castletown and all that is brand new. And everything with Dark Link is also brand new. And sorry about that. That got interrupted. But yeah, the story's only going to get crazier from here, though, as we get into Volume 7 onward. And we're actually at the halfway mark of the story. Now for some little bit of housekeeping stuff. I try not to do this on these videos, but just so you all know, as of recording this, we are approaching the end of Twilight Princess in terms of the video game. The only thing left is the last 2 dungeons, and then we're done. To make up for this, we're going to start having I'm going to try having 2 videos on the manga a week. This is going to start probably after volume 7. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to keep up on that, but I'll try my best. For now, though, I hope everyone's been enjoying these not manga reviews, but these manga videos. I know I've been enjoying making them, and I hope you all look forward to the rest. There isn't much left in here. Like I said, we're halfway done the manga. And yeah. Actually, funny thing also is I'm probably gonna merge volumes 10 and 11 into one video, because they're, well, we'll explain when we get there. But for now, I'll see you all later.